Okay, so who hasn't, sat around daydreaming about ditching the day job and opening up their own business?
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
Yeah, right. That freedom to set your own hours and be your own boss. It's tempting,
It
right?
really is. It's
Yeah.
like this dream a lot of us have.
Yeah.
Um, but as we both know, uh, the reality of starting and running your own business, well, it's a lot more complicated than just, answering to yourself.
Yeah, you're not just designing a logo and then kicking back and watching the money roll in, right?
Right.
And like, we're not here to sugarcoat anything, right?
Yeah.
Our listeners are smart. They're out there in it, right? They're already running their businesses, so they want to know how to like really thrive and not just barely keep their heads above water.
Absolutely. And that's where this deep dive gets really interesting because we're lucky enough to have some great source material for this one that really goes beyond those typical business platitudes like you got to hustle and
The customer's always right.
exactly. Haha. Yeah, no, we're going deeper here. We're going to unpack how people who've actually built successful businesses define success. And spoiler alert, it's not all about the money.
Okay, I am intrigued. So, what is it about then? If it's not about just like the bottom line, like what are these small business owners saying makes them feel successful?
Well, one of the things that really jumped out at me when I was going over this research was this idea of like lifestyle design. Have you heard of that before?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this idea that being an entrepreneur, it's not just about building a business, but it's about designing like a life you actually want to live in.
Yeah, makes sense. You're the one who's supposed to get to design your life when you own the business, but it doesn't always work out that way.
And that's the thing, right?
Okay.
Like it takes real effort to kind of step back and make sure that the business you're building is actually supporting the life you want to be living, not the other way around.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates so much with our listeners, right? Because this idea that like, maybe you want more time with your family or the ability to travel or finally like write that novel you've been thinking about.
Absolutely.
Like those are all reasons why people start businesses, right? It's about so much more than just money.
It really is. And it's not selfish to want those things either, right?
Not at all.
It's about recognizing that work should support your life, not consume it.
Exactly. Now, another thing that I've heard a lot about is this idea of being like purpose driven. What does that actually mean, though? Like, how does that work when you're talking about a small business? Does it have to be like starting a nonprofit, or is there something more to it than that?
Well, it's interesting you should ask that because the source material we're looking at it
Yeah.
actually addresses that directly.
Yeah.
It's not just about, running a nonprofit or a charity.
Right.
A strong sense of purpose can also come from building something that's bigger than yourself, even if it is something that makes money.
I like that. So you're saying it's like creating a business that's not just serving like a need, but it's also contributing to something bigger than yourself, something meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It could be within your community or for a cause you're passionate about,
Yeah.
or even just like, making your employees' lives better. Like it's really up to you.
That makes a lot of sense. And then you know what else I found interesting was this idea of customer centricity. It's like it's not enough to just like sell people stuff anymore. You have to actually like care about them too.
Yeah, it's about building those relationships with your customers that go beyond just, transactions.
Right. It's about solving their problems, exceeding their expectations, and like even dare I say making them happy.
I think you could say it, make them happy.
Making them happy. Haha.
That's what it's all about, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're not just building a business. You're building a community.
That's such a great point. I love that. So we're seeing that success for these small business owners. It's really about aligning their business with their lives, finding their purpose, and then forging those meaningful connections with their customers.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And you know what's even more interesting? We're going to dive into some really actionable strategies that you can use to actually achieve all of this.
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do it. So we've talked about how small business success isn't just about, the bottom line.
All right, yeah.
But like, how do we actually achieve all this multifaceted success we've been talking about? We hear these words all the time, like courage and focus and even cost control. But what do those things actually look like in practice, for someone who's running a business day to day?
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to throw those words around, but one of the things I appreciate about the source material we're looking at is it actually digs into the nitty-gritty of what these things actually mean.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty then. Give me an example.
Okay, so take courage, for instance.
Yeah.
One of the things that the source does is it challenges this idea that courage is about being fearless, like not being afraid. you know?
Yeah, like you just wake up one morning and you're not afraid of anything, and that's how you become successful.
Exactly. But
Mhm.
that's not really how it works, is it?
Yeah.
Instead, like, what if courage is actually rooted in fear? Like,
Yeah.
what if it's about recognizing the fear, acknowledging it, but still making the choice to move forward anyway?
So it's not the absence of fear, but like you're not letting that fear stop you from taking action.
Exactly. It's not recklessness, it's about calculated risk.
Right.
So, like, let's say you are terrified of public speaking,
Okay.
but you know that getting on video and, like, sharing your expertise could be huge for your business.
Mm-hmm. That's scary though.
It is. It's scary, but you do it anyway because you know that the potential reward is worth it. That's courage in action.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's not just about like jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
Yeah,
You're considering the risks, right? But you're also weighing those risks against the potential upside.
exactly. And speaking of making strategic decisions, let's talk about focus for a minute.
Okay.
Because I think anyone who's ever tried to run their own business knows what it feels like to be pulled in a million different directions at once.
Oh, yeah. It's like everyone's got an opinion about what you should be doing.
You
It's
know,
exhausting.
it is. And there's always a new opportunity or a new platform to try or a new collaboration to explore. And it's like,
It's too much.
it really can be.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you cut through all that noise and figure out where you should actually be spending your time and energy? And that's where I thought this source had some really interesting insights, because it suggests that focus is actually as much about what you don't do as what you do.
Ooh, I like that. So it's like saying no is just as powerful as saying yes.
Sometimes even more so. It's about saying no to things, even things that seem like good opportunities on the surface,
Yeah.
if they don't actually fit into your long-term goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's easy to get distracted by the shiny objects, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have to stay true to your vision.
Exactly. So, like, let's say you're a graphic designer who specializes in branding for, like, sustainable businesses. And you get this offer from a big fast fashion company who's willing to pay you a ton of money.
Okay.
You might be tempted to take that project, right? Because it's good money.
Right.
But if it goes against your values and it's going to pull you away from the work that you actually want to be doing, it might be better to just say no.
That's a really tough decision to make, though, when you're just starting out and you need the money.
It is. It's hard, but
That's
it's
tough.
about playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
And thinking about building a business that you actually want to work in for years to come.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Now let's talk about something a little more practical, like cost control and hiring, because I think those are two things that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in those early stages when you're trying to bootstrap your business.
Because on the one hand, you need a great team, right? Like you need talented people to help you grow. But then on the other hand, hiring can be so expensive.
Right? It's like a catch-22. You
Yeah.
need a great team to make more money, but you need money to get a great team.
Exactly. So how do you solve for that? How do you build this like dream team without, going broke? Building a dream team without breaking the bank. Easier said than done, am I right?
Mhm.
So what's the secret sauce? What does our source recommend for actually making that happen?
Well, they encourage us to kind of rethink that traditional model of hiring,
Yeah.
especially when we're just starting out. Like, instead of feeling like you have to hire full-timers right out the gate.
Which is terrifying, by the way.
Oh, totally. It suggests checking out other ways of, well, staffing your business.
Okay, like what are some of those options?
Think about freelancers,
Yeah.
for when you just need some specific skills on a project.
Mm.
Or maybe bring in a consultant for a bit to give you some high-level advice.
Right, right.
Or there's this other model, kind of cool, called a fractional team.
Fractional team. Okay, now you got to explain that one because I've never heard of it.
So it's like this. Imagine having these super experienced people, pros in their field, who act like, part-time members of your team.
Oh, I get it.
They're handling
Go
key
on.
stuff,
Yeah.
your marketing, maybe operations, or even the finances, but they're not, 9 to 5 on payroll the whole time.
That's actually genius. You're getting the big league skills without that whole overhead, right?
Yeah.
Like no crazy salaries or benefits to worry about.
Exactly. Agile. That's what it is. It's about being strategic, especially when every dollar counts.
Cool.
But let's switch gears for a sec.
Okay.
Got to talk marketing, crucial for any business, right?
100%.
And our source, they're big on this idea of constant marketing, which I got to admit sounds kind of exhausting.
Tell me about it. Like, on top of everything else us entrepreneurs are juggling, we got to be marketing masterminds 24/7. Who has time for that? So how do we make marketing feel less, like a chore and more like something we actually want to do?
Well, here's the good news. Effective marketing doesn't have to be all about those flashy campaigns or being glued to social media all day long. Honestly, it starts with the heart of your business, what you're actually selling.
So back to that customer-centric approach we were talking about earlier. If you build it and it's amazing, they will come.
Exactly. When you're crazy passionate about your product or service and you're truly solving problems for people, they become your biggest fans. Word of mouth is seriously powerful stuff. You can't fake that kind of authenticity. It's all about making those customers so happy they can't help but tell everyone they know.
Right, like a walking billboard for your business. Okay, but real talk, we can't just sit around waiting for those referrals to magically roll in.
100% agreed. Our source keeps it real here. Every single entrepreneur needs to have, at the very least, decent sales skills.
It's true, even if you're shy, you're the one who's got to get out there and champion your vision, even with the sales team.
Totally. You gotta be ready to talk about what you do and why it matters. So here's a little homework assignment for everyone listening. Take some time to really nail down your elevator pitch.
I love that. Short, sweet, and to the point. All right, any final marketing wisdom before we wrap things up?
Last but not least, the source really stresses getting some outside help. And not just with marketing, but with any part of your business where you might need guidance.
So finding a mentor or a business coach.
Exactly. Look for people who challenge your thinking. It's easy to get stuck in our own little bubble, so having different perspectives can be huge.
This deep dive has been incredible. Seriously, we went so much deeper than just scratching the surface of building a successful small business.
Uh,
It's not just about the money, you know?
No, not at all.
It's about creating a life you love, finding your purpose, making those genuine connections.
Totally. And we even got into the nitty-gritty of how to do it,
Okay.
how to take those ideas and turn them into action.
If there's just one thing I want our listeners to take away from this, it's this. Success, your version of it, that's up to you to define. And as you grow and change, so can your business.
Love that.
So keep asking yourself, what does success really mean to me right here, right now, and how can I make my business reflect that?
Now, those are questions worth pondering.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep chasing your own definition of success.